This show is strictly for educational purposes. The opinions expressed on the show are personal to the individuals appearing in the show and not those of Thinking Tree Ecoholics Private Limited. The show is not intended to offend or defame any individual, entity, caste, community, race, or religion, or to denigrate any institution, person, living or dead. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Hello and welcome to Ecoholics Thinking Tree series. Today we have with us very important guest, very important personality related to agriculture and the economics, Professor Ramesh Chand. Professor Ramesh Chand is currently a member of NITI Aayog and the 15th Finance Commission in the rank and the status of Union Minister of State. He has a PhD in agriculture economics from Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. He is fellow National Academy of Agriculture Sciences and Indian Society of Agricultural Economics. Professor Chand has over 3 decades of experience in research and teaching in the field of agricultural economics and policy. He has been involved in policy formulation for agricultural sector for the last 2 decades. Prior to joining NITI Aayog, he was Director, National Institute of Agricultural Economics and Policy Research, New Delhi. Apart from this, he is also a member of International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center, Mexico, and Policy Advisory Council in Australia. We welcome you, sir. Thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you.
Today, we are here to discuss about the role of agriculture in the post-COVID economy. Agriculture and farmer welfare is the topic that is really close to my heart because I'm a firm believer of the saying that you can earn all the money in this world, but you can't eat it. So we will get to the part of the post-COVID, sir. But firstly, let us discuss some core issues that need to be addressed in the agricultural sector. To begin with, sir, there is ongoing mass migration of the farmers towards the non-agricultural sectors. The reasons are many, beginning from over-dependency on monsoon, meager income, high debt, etc. Also, the upcoming generation does not want to become a part of agricultural activities for the same reason. Do you think India's food security can be guaranteed if this keeps going for long?
It's a common perception among a large number of people that if number of farmers in India get reduced, it will pose a threat to our food security. In fact, it is other way around. But I will first come to your question that farmers are moving in mass out of agriculture.
Yes.
I feel that we need to distinguish between what we call developmental migration and distress migration.
Yes.
That people are moving out because there are better opportunities available to them. Second is that people do not want to move out, but they are not able to meet both ends. They are not able to earn enough in agriculture. There is a distress. So
Yes.
because of distress, they are moving. For growth and progress of any society, the development migration must be encouraged.
Yes.
And distress migration must be addressed squarely. In case of India, the problem is that we have too many farmers. We have too much of labor in agriculture. In fact, in some way, it is an indicator of underdevelopment. More developed an economy, more advanced an economy, lower is the share of labor that will be working in agriculture.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately, in the case of India, it is not failure of agriculture, it is failure of non-agriculture to attract more and more people out of agriculture. If I give you one example, that China, with which we often compare ourselves,
Yes.
there the share of agriculture in total economy is now less than 8%, and percent of workforce engaged in agriculture out of total workforce is
Yes.
only 18%, and China produces, I think, more than double the food we are producing.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
And if you look at the economy which are more developed than China, you will just find that less than 5% of the workforce work in agriculture. So if farmers are moving out of agriculture, as a development process that should be encouraged, that should be promoted. This does not pose any kind of threat to food security of the country,
Yes.
because we all know that we have 86% farmers with land holding less than 2 hectares.
Seriously.
Many of them, majority of them are not viable. In fact,
Yes.
sometime back I did a calculation that if size of holding is below, I think that figure was 0.5 hectare or something like that. Exact
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
the income earned out of agriculture will always keep them below poverty.
Low poverty.
So I think that we need to do so many things for betterment of farming sector. But to lament this fact that if farmer leave agriculture, there will be threat, some sort of threat to our food security or to our agriculture. This is misplaced. This is not true. But again, I would like to emphasize that those who are leaving agriculture because of distress, they should not end up living in ghettos in the urban areas. So we
Yes.
should see to it that we have better opportunities,
Mm.
living conditions, better wage rate for those who are moving out of agriculture.
It means if we are like studying at the basics, Lewis model of mass migration, the surplus labor that Arthur Lewis is talking about. In the Arthur Lewis model, they are saying that it is the capability of absorbing the other two sectors. So that is what the main reason that, according to you.
In fact, if we move according to Arthur Lewis, I would say that some sort of ideal things for economic transformation.
Oh,
But there is some sort of obstacle which is happening in case of India as far as Lewis hypothesis go.
yes,
That obstacle is that in the case of India, industry is following a capitalist mode of production.
okay,
Though India is a labor abundant country, but if you
yes,
look at the approach followed by industry, they
yes,
adopt capital intensive approach. And recently we hear a lot about robotics, about artificial intelligence and machine learning, which
yes,
are all replacing labors.
yes,
So Arthur Leaves model, you don't find it as pronounced in the case of India as it was in the economy, which are now very well developed,
well done.
because in non-agriculture, the opportunities for labor absorptions are not growing at the scale at which they should be growing to absorb the labor that shifts out of agriculture. Still, if we look at data after 2001, there is a
Yes,
decline in absolute number of workforce in case of agriculture. So it is true after 2004-5 also. So
yes,
some positive process was started. But still, I would say that this process is very, very slow. We need to do something. It is a bit complex question since
yes,
we are not moving strictly according to the Arthur hypothesis, we are now thinking that how to address this situation, that while we need to move labor out of agriculture, the opportunities to absorb that labor are not growing
not good. Yes,
big enough. They are not growing
yes,
big enough.
big enough. Yeah, indeed, just because of the service sector. So people can survive without a surgery. That is a famous quote. Like learning, they can survive without a food. Why does a profession so noble earn so meager? And what is the incentive for educated people to take up farming as a profession if it pays so less?
You see, this is the reason that 6 years back, 5 years back, the Prime Minister gave this call for doubling farmer
The,
income.
yes, sir.
Before that, we have been chasing the target of increasing food production.
Yes,
Sometime doubling food production, sometime food grain production, sometime
yes,
that we will have 4% growth rate in agriculture. But
yes,
Prime Minister could understand the real problem of agriculture, that when we had a large scarcity of food, when we have large shortage of food, the approach to change the growth rate in production was right approach, and
Yes.
to presume that when growth in production will happen, the growth in farm income will also follow. But
Yes.
that growth in farm income, though it has been following the growth in production, but that has been very, very slow. And if
Yes.
we really want to double it according to the what was ongoing rate of growth, it will
Yes.
take maybe more than 20 years. And
Yes.
because of that, large gap between income of farmer and non-farmer will appear, and it will get further widened.
Mind.
So in case of India, it is not that income of the farmers have not been increasing, but they have been increasing, number one, at a low rate, around
Yes.
3%, and
Yes.
secondly, they have not been keeping pace with growth in income in non-agriculture sector.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
because of that, these disparities have been rising. That
Yes.
income has not been adequate to meet a different type of demand of the farmers. You know,
Yes.
in any society, the pressure on consumption build up according to how we are developing. The
Yes.
way economy is developing, we all know that more expenditure on education, more expenditure on health, more expenditure on housing. These are the
Yes.
kind of things which are needed. So
Yes.
income in agriculture has not increased in accordance with or to keep pace with growth in these kind of expenditures.
Yes.
So as
Yes.
a result, you find in many places that farmers are meeting their consumption expenditure by taking more and more loans,
Loans.
and
Yes.
they are coming more and more under some sort of debt.
That.
So this again require a multi-pronged strategy. One
Yes.
is that how we can make agriculture much more paying than what
Okay.
it has
Yes.
currently paying.
Yes.
Second is addressing the denominator, that if the total income get divided by say X number of people, and
Yes.
if you reduce that X by 20%, then also income per farmer increase by
Both.
20%.
Yes.
So
Yes.
working on both, but by your first question, which I countered, that in
Mm.
fact we need to move more and more farmers out of
True.
farming so that the available income is distributed among fewer and fewer farmers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we require a sort of multi-pronged strategy in agriculture,
Yes.
and there is still lot of scope to increase income in agriculture. It's
Mm.
not that it is completely gone. We will come to it subsequently that how it is possible. So
Yes.
we
Yes.
need to work at several fronts to see to
Yes.
it that the income earned by a farmer is at reasonable level. It
Yes.
keep pace with what is the growth rate in income elsewhere in non-agriculture sector, in urban sector, and also the growth rate is adequate to keep pace with what is the growth rate in genuine kind of expenditure.
Then. Yes. Yes. So, what do you think, sir? A small question in between. What do you think? Like by 2022, how much is the gap would be in the target and the actual reality achieved about the farmers' income because of the
See,
COVID? Because there's some disruption also. Yeah.
uh, now, we will come to COVID. People have
Yes.
been exaggerating the COVID threat to agriculture. In fact, if you have read in India Today, I was the first person to say it, that
Yes. I read it.
all those people who are talking of worst effect of COVID on agriculture are totally wrong. In fact,
Yes.
the magazine called me exceptionally optimistic to talk about agriculture. But now the figures are before us that
Yes.
in the last quarter, the growth rate of agriculture has been 5.6%. Growth
Seriously.
of non-agriculture is only 3.1%. So
Yes.
growth of agriculture 70% higher than what is growth of non-agriculture. This is
Indeed,
a
sir.
rare happening. Huh?
Rarer.
It's a rare. So we
It's
will
totally
come back
unavoidable.
to that,
Sure, sir. Sure.
yeah, that COVID kind of things. And even if we look at recent months, 3 days back, data came that sale of fertilizer in the month of May 2020 is 2 times then what is the sale of was the sale of fertilizer in year 2019? Similarly,
Yes.
sale of fertilizer in the month of April 2020 was 45% higher than what it was in April 2019. So all
Yes.
these things show that in the case of agriculture, largely the growth story is intact. There
Intact.
have been some pockets, particularly in case of perishable, that somewhere mango grower could not take it to market. Somewhere for some days tomato grower could not take their tomato to the market. So
Yes.
there are those kind of I few isolated incidents, but otherwise overall story of agriculture is intact, and
Yes.
it is more impressive that earlier the growth rate of agriculture was lower than non-agriculture. But
Yes.
now, since large volume of economic activity because of lockdown has been
Yes.
closed or stopped, so you just find that agriculture growth is much, much better than what is the growth rate of non-agriculture
Non-agri.
sector. Even if you compare it with agriculture in the
Yes.
immediate preceding period, you just find that the story of growth in agriculture so far is intact.
Yes, sir.
So I feel that we need not take this fact of COVID in a stereotype manners. In fact, COVID is turning out to be a great opportunity. You see, it is at the time of COVID when the
Yes.
Honorable Prime Minister asked all the departments, tell us how we can make use of this challenge as an opportunity.
Yes, sir.
So I also gave my own note that these are the 10 kind of things which we
Yes.
should be doing. The three at the top were the policy reforms. And you
Yes.
have already seen that 2 days back, Cabinet
Yes.
has cleared, approved those three big changes in agriculture law and agriculture policy, like
Yes.
new Central Agriculture Trading Act, then
Yes.
farmer empowerment agreement for price insurance and farm services, which is some sort of what earlier we were trying to achieve through Contract Farming Act. Then
Yes.
third is this changes in the Essential Commodity Act.
Commodities Act. Yes, sir.
So government is already trying
Do.
that we should not let it go waste. We must use this challenge as a opportunity, and these reforms were being discussed for more than 2 decades. After
Yes.
1991, when it was found that reforms mainly relate to industry, financial sector, banking sector, they did not cover agriculture. All experts, they were suggesting that without further delay, we should undertake reform in agriculture. So this comes in the area of structural changes in agriculture, about which we have been talking. So I
Yes.
am sure that this challenge versus opportunity kind of thing, already the process at the central government level has been rolled on, and you will see that it will soon go to state. And really, what we have been talking this time, we will be actually putting it into practice.
Yes, so that's great because government is able to like seamless supply chain as well as controlling of the prices.
Yes,
Since you were
yes,
talking about the debt, in the words of the former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan, farm loan waivers kill credit culture. However, they are very popular as an item of the election manifesto. What is your opinion about the loan waivers?
No, I in principle do not support loan waiving. There are very large number of reasons for it. The
Yes.
first is that it encourages willful defaulters.
Yes.
There are two kind of default. One is that farmers' circumstances do not allow him or her to repay the loan. Then second is non-willful defaulters. There
Yes.
are studies which shows that more than half of the default in agriculture is willful default. Farmers had money to repay the loan, but they decided not to do so. So loan waiving kind of thing, they affect not only culture, they affect the financial discipline. And
Yes.
you compare that if say 100 farmer have taken loan, 30-40 farmers, they are very disciplined, they repay that loan in times. So
Yes.
it goes as a punishment for them that
Yes.
I did wrong by following law of the country, by returning loan to the banks, because others who did not repay the loan, they don't have to repay the loan, and that person get ridiculed in the scenes. People just make laughing stock of him. This is very perverse kind of development. So we should not promote perverse kind of incentives. And if you do it once, the expectation build up to do it again and again, to do it again and again. So I feel that in the case of credit, there are other issues, there are other dimensions where we need to address. One is that what is the interest rate? If you take loan from private person, the interest rate may be 18%, 20%. There's no limit. There's no limit. But if you take short-term loan from a bank, there is interest subvention. You have to pay less than 4%. You see
Seriously.
it. So second is that interest rate is low, its availability should be there. Then
Yes.
other factor which goes against loan waiving is that so many survey shows not even half of the farmer in this country take loan from institutional sources.
Yes.
Almost half or more than half are taking loan from private sources. So they are the people who need help more than those who have taken loan from the banks. So
Yes.
I feel that there may be some few cases which genuinely deserve that their loan should be waived. But
Yes.
in very large number of cases, I think that situation is not there. And if we start doing it, it will become a recurring phenomena which will one day lead to collapse of banking system.
Seriously, because it's like a punishment, obviously, you said earlier, to the people that they are giving, or they are
Yeah.
providing their
Paying
services or paying EMI on time. So, yeah, that is disincentive of like repayment of loan. Yes, I was reading somewhere and data like the agriculture census of 2011-12 and socio-economic caste census of 2011. I was reading three important data. Like no more than 4.9% of farmers control 32% of India's farmland. A large farmer in India has 45 times more land than the marginal farmer. And approximately 56% of rural households own no agricultural land. Do you think, sir, this situation calls for more stringent land reforms 2.0?
we require land reform, but we require different kind of land reform now. To
Yes.
think of land redistribution in the present circumstances is only a daydreaming.
Yes. Seriously.
After independence, there were issues of tenants, there were issues of jamidar, all those kind of things. Even at that time, we know how difficult it has been to redistribute the land. Still, almost all states they went for land ceiling act kind of things, and you
Yes.
know now there are some limits that
No.
only if land is used for other purpose that limit can be crossed. Otherwise, there are ceiling limits. Even those limits, if you compare our farmer with farmers say in Brazil, farmer in South Africa, or farmer in developed country, so you will find that our large farmer before them is a marginal farmers. So
Yes.
this is one kind of situation. We also have studies which shows that almost 50% of farmers they are not economically viable because of scale factors. If you have 400 square meter of land, but
Seriously.
kind of agri business you will do on that to
Yeah.
make living out of it. So to use these kind of statistics that in India 45% of the farmer are without land, you should not plug all sections of society and project them as poor landless people. In case of India, there is a trading community in village. In case of India, there is a service community in the village. And let me give you one statistics. Today, more than two-thirds of income of rural India originate in non-agriculture sector. Only one-third of the income in rural India originate in agriculture sectors. and you will find that this trend will be, it need to be strengthened, and this trend will further move in the direction in which it has been developing. And as a result, you will find that when we offer rural non-farm opportunities to people, they do not want to remain clung to 200 meters of land, which
Yes.
doesn't give them adequate living. They look for better opportunities. So
Yes.
I feel that to talk about this kind of things, inequality, to say that if we redistribute the land, that will help us in achieving the objective. So redistribution of land kind of thing is now ruled out.
Ruled out.
The
Yes.
reform about which we talk, yes, we need reform in land area. The reform we need is that large number of landowner in rural India don't want to do cultivation for various reasons. They want to lease out their land. And
Yes.
there are large number of people who have some very small size of land or who have labor with them. They are want to stay in village itself. They want to take some land and do farming. That is issue of tenancy. That is issue of land lease.
Yes.
A few years back, NITI, sensing the situation on ground, prepared Model Land Lease Act. And
Yes.
we have been persuading all the states, please liberalize your land lease market so
Yes.
that those who want to lease out land, rather than doing it informally, let them do it formally.
Formally.
Let them without fear that if I lease out land, I will not be able to get it back from the tenants.
Yes.
And those who are taking land on lease, recognize them, allow
Yes.
them to get loan from the bank. Let them be eligible for Retu Bandhu support or what kind of PM Kisan etc. we have.
Yes.
So
Yes.
today we need a land reform, and that land reform should focus on liberalization of land lease market.
Yes.
States are required to come with the new land lease act, which should facilitate this land lease activity between those who want to lease out and those who want to lease in. And already two, three states have done it, and I
Yes.
just want to give this message through your channel that the most progressive modern land lease law has been implemented by state of Uttar Pradesh. Other
That's
states should also look at it
that's
and
great.
they should follow it. So we need land reform 2.0, but that should focus on land lease. That
Yes.
should that should focus on clear land right. That should focus on land titling, and that should focus on consolidation of fragments,
Yes.
not redistribution of land. I
Redistribution.
think that this time is not.
Yeah, because
Uh,
in 21st century it is not possible to redistribution. It's a better to we use idle resources that are lying somewhere. So that's a great thing. It's a great solution for the students as well because I teach UPSC students economics. So
okay.
it would be a very useful solution for them to write in the answers in the mains examination. To moving on, sir. Over the decades since our independence, India has rolled out beautiful plans for the welfare of the farmer. The glitch is in the execution and the implementation. The middlemen, the bureaucrats, private credit providers, everyone seems to find a way to snatch away substantial part of the benefit meant for the farmers. At times, even the farmers that are aware to fall victim to this. What measures do you propose in place to make sure that maximum benefit of the government policies or the prices in the market that commodity earn reaches farmer?
You see, first of all, I do not go whole hog in condemning the approach which we have followed in the past. It
Yes.
has not fully delivered, but it has partly delivered.
Yes.
In many pockets and in many states, agriculture has led to socio-economic transformation of farmers. You look at the Green Revolution wealth,
Yes.
entire spreading north to south. Now you will just find, see what was the lifestyle of farmer 30 years back, but it is today. What was their consumption pattern 30 years back, but it is today. How
Yes.
many farmer out of 1000 were owning car or motorcycle 30 years back, and how
Yes.
many of them are owning today? Now
Today.
you will get answer to it whether the agriculture strategy which we have followed, it
Yes.
helped in the progress of farming community or not? So you will get the answer, and the answer is yes, it did. But we could have done much better. We know that there are leakages. We know that we have serious issues with the governance, and those are not there only for agriculture. They are there, I will say, across all sectors, that we are not able to properly handle middleman, delivery system. So many of those are there. And that's why more government, less government, more governance, all those kind of slogans are brought from time to times. But since now we have experience of 12 5 years plans and implementation of various schemes, we should do some serious soul searching that how we can improve the systems. I feel that two, three things need to be done there. First is involvement of people. We must move toward participatory development.
Yes.
And we should create this feeling among the targeted beneficiary that they should consider that the money which is coming for them, it is their money, it is for their development.
Yes.
A society should create a culture that those who are involved in these kind of leakages, they are hated. They are not valued in the society.
Yes.
A society which value the riches earned through unfair means can never stop these kind of things. So I would say that it has something to do with our culture, our ethos also. Governance is a multi-factored kind of situation. So one is that we need this participatory development. Then even at government level, better monitoring system, better evaluation system with the help of technology. You know that few years back, if you have to buy a railway ticket, how difficult it was. But now you, while sitting here, even while talking to me, you can do this kind of thing.
Seriously.
More is application of technology in the delivery system, lower will be the leakage. So second, I would say after that people's participation, that use of modern technology, ITC, to whatever extent we can make it possible. And thirdly, institutions of people. Agriculture is different. Even in advanced countries like France, Japan, you find farmers cooperatives. So we need to strengthen farmers institution. It may be cooperative, it may be FPO, it may be farmer producer companies, and different kind of organizational structures are possible. So we need to promote those kind of things. And lastly, in many cases, I think we should create competition. If if we are not creating competitive situation for service delivery, for other kind of thing, then you will find that the benefit of these schemes will not percolate down to the desired extent. But again, I will say that it depends upon political system, governance, culture, and so many things. I can give you one example. You look at PDS. There are states in our country where you will find the leakage is still 40%. But there are states in our country where there is hardly any leakage. If people don't get ration, it gets delayed by 4 days. If it is not of right quality, then people know that such and such person are accountable. So I need not name and shame the state on your channel, but we know it. That same PDS, it is delivering so well in some states, but the delivery is very poor in some places. So it is a complex kind of situation. But over time, as people became aware about their right, they have started asserting, and I find that things are improving.
Yes, because competitive federalism will come into the take place, and one state can lead and others can follow, because competition will increase the efficiency. And that's a great point, sir. Great point. I was reading one of the research article of Food and Agriculture Organization. India has the ultimate irrigation potential around 140 million hectares. We haven't reached this figure. However, it is estimated that even after achieving the full irrigation potential, nearly 50% of the total cultivated area will remain rain-fed. This poses a risk to our food security in the face of climate change. Like countries, Israel, one of the best example, has achieved remarkable progress in the agriculture given the relative scarcity of water. What lessons from them can we implement in India to reduce our dependency on rain?
Yes, we are a water stressed countries, but
Yes.
still I feel we can't put blame on nature. As you have given example of Israel, like that, there are many examples.
Yes.
First, coming to numbers, this ultimate irrigation potential number, it varies and it
Yes.
doesn't remain fixed. Long back, Professor A. Vaidyanathan, he calculated what is the ultimate irrigation potential for India. If I remember it correctly, I think it was enough to give irrigation to at least 70% of the land under cultivation.
Yes.
50% number of FAO may be wrong, or maybe you
Yes.
have read it wrong, because already we have reached close to 50%. The
Yes.
area that is under irrigation right now
Yes.
is close to 50%, and
50%.
we know that we can go very far. Then
Yes.
second is that it is water which matter. Can we make water available to the crop either through irrigation or through some other means? So when we are talking of har khet ko pani, when some
Yes.
people asked me, I told them, yes, it may not be possible to give flood irrigation to all khet, but it
Obviously.
is possible to ensure that water saving kind of water is available for every field, and
Right.
that is doable. How that is doable? Our water use efficiency is one of the lowest in the world if you compare with
Obviously.
the other countries.
Yes.
Compared to many other agriculturally advanced countries, we use 2 times the water they use to produce 1 ton of food. Which means if we are able to attain water use efficiency, not of Israel is
Yes.
exception. If
Exception.
we are able to attain water use efficiency level of say China, of USA, of even Brazil, even with the same quantity of water, we can double our area under irrigation. You see, that
Yes.
subsequently we may discuss it in more detail.
Mm. Yes.
Now, if we have a policy of free power or highly subsidized power or fixed power, 100
Yes.
rupee per horsepower or 200 rupee per horsepower, we are creating incentive to the farmer to overuse water.
Obviously.
And then you see, we though always talk about water scarcity, but when it comes to pricing of water, when it comes to valuing water, hardly this kind of situation is visible in our decision making.
Yes. Yes.
First is that if we improve our water use efficiency, we can make lot of difference.
Lot of
We
difference.
just double our present level of irrigation, even if we do not further overuse our water, use our water sources. That
Yes.
is the scope of expanding irrigation through improvement in water use
Oh, yes.
efficiency. Secondly, you know that most of the farmer, there are few who go for this sprinkler irrigation or
Yes.
drip kind of irrigation.
Right.
Other all go for flood irrigation. So in case of flood irrigation, you know it that how much wastage of water is there.
Yes.
Not
Seriously.
even 40% water actually reaches the plant.
Right.
So I feel that we are a water stressed country, but we also have opportunities that we can meet all our entire need if we value water, if we price water properly. And it is not only in agriculture, even in a city like Delhi, there are no water meters. And,
Seriously.
and, and you want people to make economic use of water. You see, the use of these natural resources must be reflected in the opportunity cost. We must realize what is the opportunity cost of 100-liter water that I am using.
Yes,
and the pricing of water must be done according to that. So maybe subsequently we will deal with it in more detail. But I would say that that it is not so much because we do not have availability of water. It is more because we are not using water judiciously. We are not making use of water in efficient manners. So we can expand our area under irrigation without additional water to 70%, 75% with the right kind of water use efficiency.
yes, yes, yes. That's perfect, sir. Because we have to use it efficiently, especially in our daily life in the urban centers as well. Like I personally save RO water as well. That wastage of RO water, and we use for washing clothes. So that is how like people can use it and efficiently. That's great, sir. The recent Electricity Amendment Bill 2020 has made headlines as experts welcome this decision and the farmers' organization heavily protest against. What is your take on that?
You see, electricity is a very important utility, and we also know that the state of state electricity bodies and board has been in very poor state.
Seriously.
In order to revive this sector, few years back, central government and state government they enter into an arrangement of Uday bond.
The scheme,
That through
yes.
Uday bond, they will address this kind of things. You see, it costs to generate electricity. It costs to supply electricity. Since electricity is not a free good of nature, no, it is a priced good. It is something which we are creating.
Yes.
Therefore, if we are not recovering its cost, then from where the revenue for it will come? We should
Yes.
ask this question to ourselves. You see, subsidies create lot of addictions, and
Yes.
it is very difficult to leave those addictions. Now,
Yes.
suppose generation of 1 unit of electricity or supply of 1 unit of electricity cost you 4 rupee,
Mm.
but you are giving 200 unit free, like it is given in Delhi, 100 unit or something. You are
Yes.
giving.
Yes.
Then, in case of agriculture sector, either you are not charging anything or it is highly subsidized in most of the states. Then who will pay for it? There are two ways. One is that cross subsidy,
Cross
that
subsidy.
whatever is the cost of producing electricity, if you
Mm.
have given at subsidized rate to some sector, you charge from other sector, and ultimately that is industry and commercial use.
Yes.
Already there are complaints from industry that how we can compete in produce from other country, how we can compete with import coming from China if we are paying 2 times the cost per power which other country are paying from where this good is coming. So
Yes.
ultimately, you see, cross subsidy it has a lot of implication for other sectors. That
Yes.
and second is that okay, a state does not charge it from other sector; it meet it from its own fiscal resources. Then you find the kind of pressure that is already there on our fiscal resources.
Yes.
That second big issue, if we do not come with the change in the existing system of electricity pricing,
I see.
that sustainability issues, that
Yes.
you keep giving free power to agriculture sector, they keep exploiting water, water table is going down.
Yes.
At some places, the area is first entering into gray block, then dark block, then maybe for next generation, we will not leave even good quality water for drinking. We are
Yes.
really heading toward that direction if we continue to overexploit the water the way we are overexploiting. Why this overexploitation happen? You compare two farmer, one who is having diesel operated engine, another who is having electric operated engine and electricity is free, and you
Yes.
see what is the use of water to produce same amount of food.
Would.
So this electricity pricing has implication for sustainable use of water. It has implication for electricity generation itself. It has implication for other sectors.
Other
So
sectors.
I look at this act as a very forward-looking kind of act.
Yes.
There are always and there can be some serious concern related to different states. Those
Yes.
can be addressed. It's a bill. It's a bill.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
thrust
Yes.
on anyone.
Yes.
I think that we should ask this question to ourselves that
Yes.
if something is generated by incurring cost, how it can be given free to us? And
Yes.
who is the person or institution who should pay for it? Then we will get the answers. If
Yes.
we do not charge fully or appropriately for electricity, we have to keep ourselves prepared for long power cut,
Yes.
not proper maintenance, etc. So you just find that over time, if there is improvement in electricity supply, if there is improvement that power cut are less and less, supply is more regular. It has been that after Uday want, lot of changes have happened. We have discount and
Yes.
all those kind of institution. So
Institution.
I feel that this kind of bill, though it will be a bit painful for us, but that is very important for our future.
Yes.
Electricity is very important service and very important utility.
Yes.
If you do not fix it, then we should not expect also that in future the supply of electricity to us will improve. So
Yes.
I would like to say that we are now a country where our affordability is much better, where we need to check the leakages. Yes, we have low income people, we have poor people. Their costs can be addressed through DVT, and this is what precisely this electricity bill 2020 talks. That
Yes.
okay, you let a poor consumer use electricity, 100
Yes.
unit or something, whatever, let him pay for it, then you pay back through
Yes.
DVT
DBT. Yes.
or through some system. But
Yes.
don't keep it highly subsidized and free, because that result in tendency to overuse much
Overuse.
beyond what is the opportunity cost of that particular source,
That.
and it has very serious implication for natural resource like water.
Yes. 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 At last, sir, very briefly, what opportunities have arisen for the agriculture sector due to the advent of COVID, and does India have proper legislation in place to make use of them?
Uh, You see, first of all, to make use of, you always do not require legislation. But
Yes.
I mentioned in the beginning that we were talking about certain legislation for many, many years. So
Mm.
because of this COVID challenge, we have now under pressure brought those three major changes
Yes.
in case of agriculture policy, which is going to change the face of agriculture, the way we produce agriculture and the way we trade agriculture. That is the power of those three reforms which have been brought. I think in the wake of COVID, beside looking at domestic market, we should also looking at external market. There are a lot of opportunities for India to tap overseas market.
Yes.
What will be looking for a regular and a rival supplier of commodities? What will be looking for safe food? But will be looking for biosecurity kind of thing. And India has a good image in all these kind of things. So I feel that COVID has offered opportunity, not only in the domestic market, but more so because our production is now growing at a faster rate than what is the growth rate in domestic demand. So we
Yes.
need to tap external market and outside market also. And we should also now think of biosecurity issues, that how those kind of issues can be kept at bay, and how we adjust our cropping pattern, which give us immunity, which give us more nutrition. So these are briefly, there is no time left now. These are briefly
Yes.
the opportunities in the wake of this COVID-19 challenge.
Yes. At last, sir, just few words of wisdom to the students or the followers of Ecoholics. Anything you want to say as a best wishes?
You see, as a person who have been working on agriculture and who was born in an agricultural family, in my childhood I worked in agriculture, I would only like to say, to me it seems that fortune of agriculture is going to change.
Yes.
Agriculture has suffered because knowledge has not gone into agriculture.
Yes.
So if some of the youth with their knowledge, with their skill, enter into agriculture, they will enjoy it, and they will also, I think, contribute to changing the face of agriculture. So they should not be misled by people presenting dismal picture of agriculture. There are problem in every sector. Employment is going to become much more difficult in other sectors. In agriculture, we are already talking how to make agriculture work less and less, say, stressing, so that we have right kind of equipment and machinery, so that you do as you feel in blue collar job or white collar job. And
Yes.
I know some people who are working as engineers, and in some job at a salary of 50,000, 60,000 rupee, they left it, they have gone back to their villages, and they are doing progressive agriculture. So
Agriculture.
some of you may be interested to visit some villages not very far from Delhi, Kirana and other places. So I
Yes.
met those young engineers there, and they are there in and around Bangalore also. So now there are so many opportunities. Urban
Yes.
people are interested to have some link with agriculture, to
Agriculture.
eat fresh vegetable.
Yes.
Tremendous opportunity for e-commerce. So you
Yes.
just look at this new trading act which we have brought and see how many opportunities it will create, and
Great.
please try to embrace it according to your skill and liking.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming, sir. It was a humble pleasure, and it was a pleasure for me to have you on our Ecoholics Thinking Trees. Our team worked really hard behind this to have you on board, and that is a great. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and giving us time. Thank you so much, sir.
Always welcome. Namaskar.